Thank you, Whittaker Locke. That was Come and Go With Me, played by our accompanist, who's going to have some great music for us later on. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Columbus, Georgia. We are an inclusive spiritual community of people from diverse religious and philosophical backgrounds. For example, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Islam, Wicca, atheism, agnosticism, humanism. There's some others I'm forgetting, but we don't share a creed. What we do share is a commitment to support each other in our own unique and personal searches for truth and meaning. I'm Bill Harlan. I'm your volunteer service leader this morning on Sunday, November 15th on our live Zoom service. We have a guest speaker this morning who is pretty exciting. It's Jonathan Perkins, who has founded and runs a slam poetry program for young students here in Columbus. Before we get started, I'm going to turn the screen over to David Rush, our technology guru, who's going to just refresh us on how we use Zoom and maybe some things about this service that'll be a little different. We're coming to you live from Grace Fellowship Hall, which is something we haven't done for a live service yet. So, David, do you want to explain to us how this is all going to work?
Explain things to you. That's not what I meant to do. Hold on. My technology foo is not doing well today. Oh, come on. All right. That looks all right. Okay, we are, as usual, we are recording this service where it'll be posted onto YouTube later. If you don't want your face possibly appearing in that, you can click on your stop video button, and we'll just have a little thing with your name on it. And we will, like I said, you and your friends can all watch this later on our YouTube channel. Also, for joys and concerns and the Q&A afterwards, you can do those live through your microphone if you want, or if you prefer, you can do them through the chat button. So click on the chat button and you can type down to everyone. That's it.
Thank you, David. I'm back. We begin, I do have some announcements first, and before we really get started with the service, I want to run through some of these. Next Sunday on November 22nd, Connie and Ron Usry are going to they're going to be service leaders, and they're going to present a really unique talk. As we all know, they've been recovering from COVID-19, and they're fine now, but they've been through quite a saga. They even signed up for an experimental drug treatment. And they're going to talk about that in a talk that's titled A COVID Journey and Your Support. So that's next Sunday. On Sunday, November 29th, our lay leader, Rick Spradlin, will lead a service on a topic to be announced. And then on Sunday, December 6th, Amanda Reese, who's a professor of geography at Columbus State University and a member of our fellowship, will talk about real actions we can take to address climate change. So we've got, and we have more services outlined too. You can find out about these on our website, ucolumbusga.org. Another announcement, we've got another election coming. I know it's just what you wanted to hear, right? And I'm not talking about the January 5th election. I'm talking about the upcoming election for Board of Trustees. There are 4 slots open on our Board of Trustees, and some members are going to run again, and I think there's maybe at least 1 open seat. But the deadline for nominations is the day after tomorrow, Tuesday, because the board meets Wednesday to finalize the ballot. So you can nominate yourself, and we're doing self-nominations this year because of the pandemic and the there's lots of difficulties about that. So if you want somebody else to run, contact them and persuade them to call or email Hal or Brenda at our email address, uufcga@gmail.com, or just get a hold of them personally. Again, that deadline is Tuesday. From our Social Action Committee, which also reminds us that today is Give Away the Plate Sunday, and that goes to Feeding the Valley. I'll say more about that when we get to the offering. But they have also, Stevenson has just put a large box, or boxes, is that correct, student Susan, out on the porch here, and they are collecting, it's an unusual collection of things they want. They're looking for blankets, small tarps, socks, t-shirts, and underwear that will be distributed by the Homeless Resource Network. And Susan has reported that we did a pretty good job on this last year. Unfortunately, this year, the need will be even greater. So that box will be today only. Is that correct, Susan?
It will be out there through December.
Yeah, through December, we're going to have the box on the porch. So that is the business. So let's get down to the real reason why we meet here on Sundays and why we've we're trying to meet live. Is our real reason for coming here on Sunday is to support each other in our spiritual growth. So we'll begin our services, as we always do, by lighting our chalice, which speaks to us of reason, tolerance, and freedom, and also of respect, compassion, and love. As I mentioned, we don't have a creed, but we do share principles. So let's review those as we do every week. These are the 7 principles that sum up our core values, the core values of Unitarian Universalism. Number 1, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. 2, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. 3, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. Number 4, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Number 5, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations, like this week, and in society at large, like January 5th. And as a parenthetical remark, I think we all know that January 5th, we will have important statewide runoff elections, including for both of our U.S. senators. Georgia has a real chance to determine the direction that this country takes in the next 4 to 6 years. So, of course, we're all going to vote, but as UUs, I hope we'll all participate to the full extent we can, either financially or volunteering for the candidates of our choice. So, where was I? 6, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. And last, but definitely not least, respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. So now we're going to we're going to continue with one of the ways that we really proclaim the vitality of this fellowship. And we do this by sharing brief and personal joys and concerns. And I'm going to start by lighting a candle for joys and concern, or rather for concerns that you might not want to share in person. And I'm going to prime the pump myself by sharing a couple of joys. And one of them is that last night we had a family dinner with Ellen's daughter and her husband and our grandson Will, and we were very socially distant because they have a wonderful back porch with fans and a big long table, so we felt like we were being safe in the pandemic. And we learned that our grandson has submitted his first 3 applications to colleges, so we're pretty thrilled about that. And I'm also very joyful that I had a long conversation with my brother in South Dakota, and he and his wife just celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. So we had a wonderful talk, and they had a wonderful day celebrating their 50th, just the 2 of them. So with that said, David and Elise, if you will take over, and let's see if somebody else has a joy or concern they'd like to share.
I guess I have a joy. CSU's coming to its last full week of classes for this semester. And I think we've done pretty well in terms of COVID-19, and I know my students have been luckily enough still coming to class, even though I'm teaching virtually over Zoom. So I'm pleasantly surprised and happy that that my students are doing well despite this challenging moment.
Thanks, Amanda.
I think you saw that through the chat, Danielle seconded that notion.
Yeah, we have a number of faculty at CSU, and I know it's been difficult for them. Anyone else? Going once?
Brenda.
I've got it. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I've had a death in my family due to COVID. My cousin's wife, they both live in Columbus, and she was in her late 50s, and she'd been battling COVID for months. Was in the hospital, then moved to a nursing home, and went home just for a short period till she was rushed back to the hospital where she died. So our family is mourning the loss of her.
Thank you, Brenda. We'll be thinking of your family, and I lit a candle for your family.
Thank you.
How we doing, Elise?
Everything looks good.
All right. Are we ready to move on?
I think we are.
All right. Joys and concerns remind us that sometimes life feels like a roller coaster. And it's my theory that if we really pay close attention, it will always feel like a roller coaster. And that's why I love it that we follow joys and concerns with another local toast that's unique to our fellowship. It's our Celebration of Life toast, written by our very own Ed Wilson. This Celebration of Life toast comes with a warning. It's not a sacrament. It's just a friendly tradition. You can join with me on the last line. I'm going to read the toast, and now would be the time to raise your cup of coffee or your glass of wine, for those of you who are more bold this morning. And I'll read the toast, and you can join in on the last line. We celebrate life with its beauty and its pain. We lift these cups in tribute to the achievements of human minds and hands and in sensitivity to the frustrations of misfortune and heartache, not fixing blame or credit for the outcome of chance, sensing the risk, savoring the joy, sharing it all, knowing of the certainty of death, and remembering the value of each moment. We drink our toast of celebration to this time, to the future, to each other, to the throbbing of the earth and sea and sky with life. Together, we drink this toast in celebration of life. And now it's time for our offering. And as I said earlier, this is the third Sunday of the month. We give away the plate, and it's going to Feeding the Valley, which does fantastic work providing food for those in need. And as I said, this holiday season, with colder weather and the chaos of the holidays, and add to that the chaos of COVID-19 and the economic chaos that we're experiencing, Feeding the Valley, as their work is more important than ever. And Susan also reminds us that while it's kind of satisfying to give perishable items, canned goods, and any kind of non-perishable foods, it's really better to give cash, because what you and I would spend on a couple cans of tuna fish, Feeding the Valley can buy a whole case of it, because they have amazing, great relationship with the food industry in Columbus. And they make every penny stretch magically, Susan says. So you know the drill. Mail your checks to Box 698, Fortson, Georgia, 31808. Or go to PayPal and hit the send button, and they'll ask you who you want to send money to, and just put our UU email address. That's uufcga@gmail.com. Easy as pie. And you'll also find that information in the chat box. So I hope all of you have found that handy chat button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So while you're looking for your checkbook and your stamps, or while you're signing on to PayPal, Whittaker will play a piece that he just texted me the name of it, and I'm not going to fumble in my pocket for my phone. But Whittaker Locke will play the flute for us and accompany himself, recorded, on the piano. Whittaker, if you will.
Thank you, Bill. This is an arrangement of the intermezzo from Mascagni's opera Cavalleria Rusticana.
Fabulous as usual, Whittaker. Thank you so much. Now it's time for our reading, which is going to prepare us very well for Jonathan's talk. Danielle Neale, a member of our fellowship, has chosen a poem, and she's going to read it from one of my favorite locations anywhere. So, David, if you would cue up Danielle from a remote location.
Thank you for joining me in our UU Meditation Garden. I chose this location because this community has been one of my favorite and most inspiring to be a part of. And now I would like to share a poem by Sailing to Windward entitled In Community. In community lies strength of numbers to support the sick and the weak. In community, somebody hears me with louder voices to speak. In community lies public purpose to shield from the harshness of life, to offer and receive common friendship, to protect from the gun and the knife. In community, we teach each other about science and art and sport. From this, we gain our vitality, and through this, our sickness is fought. In community, others surround us, their dreams, their love in their faces, encourage our hearts to prosper, our minds to accept other places. In community, disaster may come, but grief shared and faith in our all makes death pall linger less strongly. Our tears with others can fall. In community lies man's ambition, without makes larger our fears. Together we make sense of being and bring joy and length to our years. I hope you've enjoyed this community as much as I have, and I hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you so much, Danielle. Wonderful as always. And now it's time for our talk, Words to Live By, presented by Jonathan Perkins. Jonathan is a teaching artist, a poet, an actor, comedian, playwright. He's from here in Columbus. He travels the country leading poetry workshops and performing his original work. He's open for a bunch of First Flight comedians, and he was a stand-up comic at the 2014 Black Box Comedy Festival in Atlanta, Georgia. His poetry has been featured on a number of digital platforms. I could go on and on about, he has a long resume. He's also the communications director for the Civil War Naval Museum in Columbus. Columbus in the Valley magazine named him to its 2018 5 Under 40 award list. And he's just, a real talent and a force in the theater community in Columbus, Georgia. So we are going to practice social distancing. So I am going to scoot off the stage, and you'll see why the camera seems a little bit lower for me today when Jonathan enters. Jonathan, welcome.
Good morning. I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen. Then, besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. Langston Hughes, Poet Laureate of Harlan. Those are strong words, powerful words, important words, necessary words, and they're as necessary now as they were then. There are power in words. Words can be used to lift people up. Words can heal. Words can harm. Words can build. Good morning. I'm Jonathan S.E. Perkins, and I am a wordaholic. I'm addicted to words, this basic unit of language that can build. that can heal, that can engage, that can activate, that can move. There's peace in our words. There's justice in our words. There's truth and meaning in our words. It's all in how we choose our words. But first, we must listen. So, listen. Like I tell the many young people that I'm blessed to work with on a weekly basis, we must first listen with our ears, not with our mouths. I'm a teaching artist, actor, playwright, spoken word artist, and I'm the founder and director of the Fountain City Teen Poetry Slam, which is a youth literary arts organization right here in Columbus, Georgia. I will talk a lot more about that very soon. But you've heard a word in my introduction several times, and that word is artist. Artist, a creator. I'm a spoken word artist, I'm a teaching artist, and as I think of this word, I realize that this word has been around me for as long as I have had memory. My mother was the first person to call me an artist. And I am a middle child. So if anyone out there is a middle child, you know that we are different, we are awkward, we are the unicorn. I was my mother's artist. So every chance that she had, she would introduce me as an artist. My brother and my sister were athletes, and I aspired to be the football player or the basketball player, but alas, my mom was handing me paper and pencils and pens, and we were going to the theater and going to the museum. She was feeding this artist. She saw this in me, and she gave me this word. And although I did not know what it meant, she made sure that I learned and that I knew and that it was incubated in me. So here I am, an artist. And like I said, I wanted to be an athlete like my brother and sister. And I remember going to the football games and I think it was one game watching my brother, I realized, you know what? Maybe I don't want to be an athlete, because I saw what happened when you catch the ball. When you catch the ball, all these people come running after you and you have to run, or you are pretty much obliterated. So I realized then that instead of a football, I will take a pen and I will create the world that I want to live in. And I will create this experience and offer it to young people as well. So my mom saw this in me, and she saw to it that this word would follow me everywhere that I went. And she saw to it that I had a pen, had a pencil, had a muse, had an audience, even if it was an audience of one, and an appetite to discover truth in meeting. Artist, artist, artist. Forever whispering in my ear. I listened. So I went off to college. I did the college thing, got a degree, and I remember being a fifth-year senior, not really sure if I wanted to go into my chosen field, and really depressed and down on my luck because, you know, you got to graduate and find a job. And not to turn this into a Hallmark movie, but walking along the campus, hearing my mother's words and realizing my experiences, because I've always been a part of art, and hearing the word artist and walking into a play audition. I went to Georgia Southern and being cast in a play my senior year of college, walking into a poetry slam. I didn't even know what poetry slam was. I was a poet, I've always written, but walking into a poetry slam, and I had to have 3 poems. I had 3 poems, I won. And that was nearly 20 years ago. I'm still working in this craft. I'm still working around this word that this amazing woman called and christened and blessed and spoke over me, artist. So what I want you to do right now, because I am a teaching artist and I travel the country teaching performing arts and creative writing, what I want you to do right now is just take a few seconds and think of a word or words that you have heard throughout your life about you or around you or that surround you. So for me, it definitely is artist, but for you, it could be chef, it could be singer, it could be culture worker. But take a few seconds and think of that word, okay? And you can just look at me when you got it, or raise your hand when you get it, and I'll just act like I see you. Got you. Okay, cool. So everybody has a word. So cool. think of this word, keep this word, hold on to this word, all righty? This is the word that for some reason continuously is speaking to you, okay? So for me, I have this desire to better my community. And it's no different than anyone else in this community. And we all have different gifts. And I was fortunate enough to have the gift of literary arts and the support of a loving, caring community and family to give this to me. And I realized as I got older that not all young people have that outlet. Not all young people have that support. So after coming back to Columbus, I was able to, I walked into I started doing, let me rewind, I started doing poetry slam in college. And I came home, got a job. I was doing the artist thing, auditioning. And as it goes, got another job and then got another job and then eventually got laid off from that last job. And I heard that word again. You know, the one thing that was constant in my life, artist, 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 artist. By this point, I had participated in Poetry Slam, traveled around, performing my work as an actor and as a poet. And I had this wonderful experience of growing up here in Columbus and having this wonderful community to incubate me as an artist. And here I am, out of corporate America. What do? I create a youth literary arts organization in Columbus that gives the same experience to young people that would not regularly have this experience. We're 10 years old, and I have had a front row seat at some of the most amazing work. I have witnessed young people and older people alike hear their voices for the very first time, realizing the power of their voice for the very, very, very first time. We are a small nonprofit here in Columbus, Georgia, but we've reached hundreds in the last 10 years. If you've been fortunate to come to one of our events pre-COVID, we have monthly open mics at Fountain City Coffee. We have bi-monthly and weekly writing workshops at area high schools and middle schools. We have an online writing workshop, a digital chat book, and we also publish a number of young artists each year. And all of our programming is free of charge to young people, because I really feel that the only thing that is required of this program, and I tell them when they come in the door, is a pulse. If you're breathing, you can use words. You can use words to heal. You can use words to build. So with that being said, if you would like to support this movement, because that's what this is, it's not a building, it's a movement, and all of the support goes towards the young people in this community, and it also supports teaching artists. I bring in teaching artists to come in and teach various lessons, and we have a awesome curriculum here where we promote creative healing, we promote social emotional skills, positive behaviors, and we challenge creatives to find, develop, and publicly present and apply their voices, because their voices are necessary. Your voice is necessary. Keep thinking about that word, whatever it is necessary, okay? And project your voice to the back of the room. That is something that we also teach in our programming here at Fountain City. And I charge this to you, is that when you find your voice and you hear your voice, don't be scared of your voice. There's power in your voice. You never know how many people you have things in common with until you're at an open mic. You know, you never realize how much we have in common until we're sharing our work. So don't be selfish with your voice. There's no mold to spoken word and creativity, you know. Create your yes today. It doesn't have to wait. you can create the change you want in your community today. There's so many awesome resources. So just like 10 years ago, when I saw a void in my community and I sat down with my notebook, as I do every day, started a plan, these were words, and then I put them into action. So it's been beautiful, again, watching these young people grow over the years. I've been able to most recently hire a few alums of this program to come in and do the same work that I've been doing the last 10 years. So it's beautiful to work myself out of a job. And it's also wonderful to see this awesome legacy of young, positive creators coming up in this world, especially with the climate and especially with how crazy and unprecedented times have been. More than ever, young people have needed a creative platform. So when everything shut down with COVID, boom, myself and my young people got together and we did virtual open mics. We did a digital chat book. We put on a choreo poem, socially distanced, outside for the public, where these young people addressed COVID. They addressed racism. They addressed environmental racism and body positivity issues, free and open to the public. So if nothing else, we are molding young people to use their art to affect positive change in their community. And you don't have to be 12 to 19 years old to do that. You can do that today. And it starts with the word, or the words that are whirling in your head as I talk. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Also, if you'd like to make a donation, you can visit FountainCitySlam.org. And I also believe there should be information in the chat on how you can support this movement. We have started an awesome outside poetry series, our wide open mic, wide open workshops, free and open to the public this upcoming Saturday at 3 p.m. at Port Columbus. Check that out, and it's free and open to the public. And again, we are a smaller nonprofit, and we rely heavily on grant funding and the support of this beautiful community that we serve. And speaking of community, I do want to thank, at this moment, I should have in the beginning, I do want to thank the UUCF for having me speak today. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate that. Also, at this point, I want you to think about that word that you thought about at the beginning of this talk. What do you feel you have to say now? Like, my word was artist, and I've created an organization to allow young people to use their voice to affect positive change. What can you do? What are you doing? What have you done? And your community could be as big as the whole world. It could be as big as your living room. It could be as big as your car. You know, make sure that you're taking care of your community. You are your community. Self-care is a cornerstone of the work that we're doing with the young people as well. So not only are we giving them literary skills, but we're giving them life skills through yoga and meditation and things of that nature. So again, it's never too late and it's never too early to heal and to build. So think of your word and just think about what you have to offer to make this world a better place. I'm going to close with a poem that I wrote, because I do want to bookmark this. I started with Langston Hughes, so I'll bookmark with a poem by myself, that reflects on the power of community and how it's informed and impacted my work. When we say we got you, or I thank my mother for holding space, this absurd floor suspended above a prayer, quilted upon the whispers of a change gonna come cause it got to, cause we synced it, cause the floor neath your feet was once hoped for. Lean in closer, hear the urgency, and patience of an amen. The harmonies of a mother, cousin, brethren, and neighbor, friends stealing away on your behalf. And then there's grace, like rocks along the path, not burden, more obstacle, more hurdle, more sacrifice, more mercy, more grace, more beads of sweat upon brow. This ain't no shaky ground, just some shaky knees, awkward feet, barely keep up with the pace, but we do hopscotch a hymn or two. Sung so long ago, our strides now echo. We merely a remix of their struggles, shape-shifting, showing up our strides now echo over the bridge, through the woods, to grandmother's house that is not a home, not a building, space up above our heads and below our feet. Each step a release, a stutter, utter, mumbling, grumbling, affirmation, mantra in the atmosphere. I got a feeling that everything is gonna be all right. Band-aids over levees, breach, blood overflow. We drift in the thick remnants. Black folks begot this, walking on water, thin ice, concrete, country, dirt road, red clay, city streets, correction. This is no swagger. Our steps are ordered. Ain't no half stepping, ain't no stopping. Got strict orders to stride this thing out. We ignorant marching to prayers amplified into pots of collard greens and stubborn backsides, pillows and hard heads. The invisible, the physical, the subliminal, the religious, the bedside, tithing and skeptics alike have had to watch their steps, somehow approve when they move. I got a feeling everything's gonna be suspended, animation on a drawing board that is oftentimes sketchy at best, not drawn in sand, engraved on solid ground. Somehow we stand, even when we can't. It's just how we do when we say, we got you. Thank you. Thank you.
Jonathan, wow. Excuse me. That was magnificent. And let me take this opportunity to invite you back for more of that story. Excuse me, a frog in my throat and chill down my spine. Before we extinguish the chalice, and before we have our closing words and closing hymn, we're going to ask if Jonathan would be available for maybe 5 minutes or maybe a little longer for some questions or comments after Whittaker plays that hymn. And that Q&A will be combined with our Zoom social time that we've taken to doing so. Stick around, and I hope some of you have some questions or comments about Jonathan's work. So, we extinguish the chalice here that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this place. I think most of you know our closing words by heart. You can rise with me in body or spirit if you'd like to and join in. With unity of spirit, we go our ways in universal fellowship until we meet again. Remember, stick around. Whittaker's going to play, pre-recorded, hymn 151 from Singing the Living Tradition, I Wish I Knew How. So, David, will you cue up Whittaker?